Hello and welcome to the Wendell Effect. This is Brandon Wendell, and I'm going to guide you through my view on the energy futures markets for this video. Before we get started, just need to remind you we are just doing this for educational purposes only. I'm not telling you to buy, sell, or hold any particular security, giving any personalized recommendations. And past performance, no indication of future results. There's always risk involved in the markets. No matter what we do, we can't eliminate the risk. We just try to manage it, and we're not subject to trading restrictions here. So we can have a position in a security or initiate one at any time. So stay in touch with me. If you got any requests or things you'd like me to talk about more, please send in an email to brandonwendell.cmt@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to respond and possibly put stuff on air for you as well. Also, keep in touch with me through Twitter. You can hit me up at TraderBdub. That way you can get more updates during the week. And please, if you could, help me out and hit like as well as subscribe and check for alerts so that we can be notified when new videos come out on a regular basis. So we're going to jump into the energy futures markets for the week of April 9th, and here we go. Kicking it off, we had quite a big move, as you see on the weekly chart of crude oil. This week we had that big gap up to kick off the week. Before that, we actually had dropped into a demand zone on the weekly chart. I've been watching that for many, many months now. We were below 40 on the RSI, which suggests that when we moved up and even gapped up, we were not going to be able to make a new high without a correction. So as we gapped up, you can see it was more indecision, and therefore we're likely to stay stuck in this range again. Doesn't seem like we want to push out of it yet. When you take a look at the daily chart, you can see the warning signs before we turned. We had a positive divergence, but we never confirmed a trend reversal. You can see we put in a low that's actually below 40. That means, again, we're not going to be able to break out to new highs without a pullback first. And we actually created a little bit of demand right here, 73.20 area, which is the bottom of the range. So we're likely to pull back towards that before we can go higher or before we continue in our sideways move inside the range. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, you can see that for the most part, every time we turn, we usually get a warning signal with a divergence. So watch for that. You know, the market loves to give you those warning signs. I forgot to mark this here, but you see, if the indicator is doing something opposite or different than price, you're getting that divergence and possibly a turn in price. So we currently came up towards supply here, 81.86 to 82.78. We have a negative divergence that's leading us back down. Now we're still very bullish. It doesn't mean we're going to reverse trend, okay? But we did hit supply, so there's more of a likelihood, and we're at the top of the range. So there's a higher probability of us pushing back down, at least to close the gap and hit 74 before a good bounce, or even go to the bottom of the range. Moving on to nat gas, there's not much to say here. This has just been dropping quite a bit. And went to go to the weekly there. You can see there's no demand for us to look at. Now, the only thing I am noticing is as we're moving down, we're not getting more momentum to the downside. So we are finally getting some divergence, which again could lead to a little bit of a bounce. Not necessarily trend change, but definitely a bounce. Looking at the daily chart, you see it as well. As we're pressing and making new lows in price, we're failing to do that on the indicator. So there could be a slowing of the downward move, not a reversal. If we do get a bounce, I find it highly unlikely we'll be able to break through this 2.3. That's probably where we're going to bounce to before we turn back down yet again. And going down the 4-hour chart is more of the same. We had the divergence, we paused and pushed up, got stuck at this gap and pushed right back down. So we might be in for a small bounce at the beginning of the week, but it looks like more of the downward move is continuing, or at least sideways. You can see the trajectory we've been on has gone a little bit flat. So I imagine we're going to be a little bit bearish to flat after we get a small bounce to kick off the week. In gasoline, the weekly chart is very, very choppy. Even with the big gap up, we failed to close above the new highs. We pulled back a little bit. So very choppy trend, although it is trying to break a little more to the upside. We're not getting much support there or buying pressure to follow it. Looking at the daily chart, we did get some higher closes here, and we are pushing up. You can see we made lows above 40 on the RSI for the first time in a while here, and that's a lot of bullish push. So if we do pull back, we could close the gap but bounce off this 2.65 area before going higher. But overall, the price does look a little more bullish here. And we just had a big divergence on the 4-hour time frame, so it's going to pull back and set us up for new buying opportunities. It could go as far as that 2.6 it was, about 2.65, or we could stall out right here at about 2.75 and see a little bit of bouncing at that area. But expect the price to pull back a little bit on gasoline and then try to work its way a little higher this week. And finally, on heating oil, we are still in a downtrend, as you can see, but we're not very strong in this downtrend. It's just kind of gently floating downwards. We can't get strong bearish momentum to take us below 40 on the RSI. Looking at the daily chart, we did a pretty good retracement of our last impulse down. We made it all the way up to 78.6%. Could not get into bullish territory, but on our last bottom, we couldn't even put in a move below 40 to go into bearish territory. So this is suggesting that prices might go a bit sideways going forward for the next week. We lost momentum, basically. Actually, yeah, this is kind of supply as well. Rally, base, drop. So we stalled shy of that supply, and I don't see us getting above that this week. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, it's kind of a channel in this correction, but we are weakening a little bit. So again, looking at a possibility of prices drifting a little bit lower, not really breaking down to fresh lows. There's probably going to be better opportunities elsewhere than this index, but this should show a little bit of weakness this week. Anyway, that is what I got for you on the energy futures. If you want to stay in touch with me, as I said before, hit me up, brandonwendell.cmt@gmail.com. Find me on Twitter @TraderBdub, and please hit like and subscribe and get the alerts as well, so that way you'll be notified for new videos. It helps me out as well. I want to thank you for watching, and until next time, trade safe, trade well, and take care, everyone. Thank you.